Donkey Kong. What can be said about such an old and important game to the history of both video games and Nintendo? Should I start with the story of how its creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, created the game from a surplus of arcade cabinets? Or should I go with the story about the time Universal tried to get Nintendo to pay them royalties for King Kong because they thought Donkey Kong was derivative of it? I think I'll try to keep it brief. In 1980, Radar Scope was released worldwide. Nintendo hoped that it would be the game that would get them into markets outside of Japan, but were disappointed when the game wasn't selling like they had hoped. They decided to scrap the game and replace it with something new, something that would be able to run on the Radar Scope's hardware, so as to convert their surplus stock. They called upon a young artist at the time, Shigeru Miyamoto. He came up with a game featuring a man he called Mr. Video, and then later renamed him Jumpman, where he would be climbing ladders and dodging barrels being hurled at him by an angry ape named Donkey Kong. The game ended up being named after its star villain. It would end up selling incredibly well for Nintendo and would secure them a place in the fledgling video game market. Universal would see this and sue Nintendo of America because they thought the scenario and character of Donkey Kong was derivative of their recent film, King Kong. They would end up losing when one of Nintendo's lawyers, John Kirby, pointed out that Universal themselves had argued that King Kong was part of the public domain in a previous lawsuit. The story of Donkey Kong is simple. Donkey Kong has kidnapped a woman and is being chased by Jumpman. He climbs to the top of some pink girders that make up the first level, 25 meters, and begins to roll and throw down barrels. Jumpman has to climb the ladders and dodge oncoming barrels by jumping over them. He can smash oncoming barrels by grabbing one of two hammers in the level. Once he climbs to the top, Donkey Kong grabs his captive and heads to the next level. Depending on which version you're playing, the next level will either be 50 meters, 75 meters, or 100 meters. In the original Japanese arcade cabinet, Donkey Kong will climb straight to 50 meters. In the NES version, Donkey Kong will climb to 75 meters. And in the worldwide arcade version, Donkey Kong will climb straight to the final level, 100 meters. At 50 meters, there are conveyor belts carrying cement into a burning barrel at the center of the stage. Donkey Kong will try to impede Jumpman's progress by switching the direction of the conveyor belts. This gets really annoying, especially when you're stuck between some cement and burning barrels in the center. In 75 meters, the ape sends down big pink springs to try and stop Jumpman, but they can be easy to avoid if you figure out where the safe spots are between where they land. Wait, where's Donkey Kong getting the springs? I mean, the barrels can kinda make sense in a construction site, and conveyor belts are believable, but springs? I don't know. I've personally never seen any springs in a construction site before. Oh well, I guess video games will do what video games will do. There are elevators that you'll have to cross here, and you'll have to make sure to jump only when the elevators are near the next platform, as any fall damage will kill Jumpman. After you've reached the top of 75 meters, Donkey Kong will take his captive to the top of the construction site, the final level in the story, 100 meters. Here Jumpman has cornered the big ape and has to drop him from his platform by pulling up all the bolts, holding up the higher platforms. He can't climb to the top and confront Donkey Kong, mainly because Donkey Kong's a big gorilla and and will probably pummel Mario, but in the game if you touch him, you lose a life. You'll fall right through the holes if you try walking over the bolts you've already pulled out, so you'll have to jump over them. There are also multiple hopping fire enemies that spawn at the bottom of the level and climb the ladders to chase you. You'll need to keep an eye on them because it's easy to get cornered by them. Once you've pulled out all of the bolts, Donkey Kong will fall to the bottom of the stage and Jumpman will have rescued his damsel in distress, ending the story of Donkey Kong. The controls are as simple as the story. You'll push the control stick left and right to move Jumpman left and right, push it up and down to climb up and down the ladders, and press the jump button to jump. It's that simple. When you get the hammer power-up, you won't be able to jump or climb up and down ladders. As far as obstacles go in Donkey Kong, there are the rolling barrels in 25 meters, the burning barrel, conveyor belts, and wet cement in 50 meters. 75 meters have the springs and elevators, and finally 100 meters have the bolts and the holes that come once you've pulled out the bolts. As for the enemies, there are really only two: Donkey Kong and the multiple fire ghosts or spirits? I'm not really sure. The fire enemies can be defeated by using the hammer on them, but Donkey Kong cannot be defeated by the hammer. The hammer is in almost every level except for 75 meters. There are only 3 collectibles in the game: the purse, the hat, and the parasol. These 3 items are dropped by the lady. If you collect them, you'll get extra points. You can also gain bonus points by finishing each level as fast as you can, but the bonus points also count as your time, so if you run out, then Jumpman will simply drop dead. Donkey Kong was a great game back in the arcades. It's also a fun game to play at home on a console like the NES, Wii, or Nintendo Switch. In my opinion, you get the best deal when you buy it on the Nintendo Switch, because it comes with 2 versions really. They're both arcade versions, but there's still 2 versions. And it seems to be at a reasonable $8 on the Switch eShop. I highly recommend playing this piece of video game history, because it's still fun, even after 36 plus years. So pick up a controller and try to get a new high score in this fantastic classic. Thank you for watching this review. This one was my first one, and believe me when I say criticism is welcomed. I would like to make better reviews, and I would like to hear from everyone who's watched this on what I can do better. This one kind of took me a bit to even get started on, but yeah. Well, have a good day, and thank you once again for watching my review.